What's up guys, it's yours Vidja Games and welcome to today's video. As you can see by the title and thumbnail of today's video, we're going to be doing our very first Final Fantasy video here on the channel. And in this video we're going to be taking a look at Prince Noctis Lucius Caelum from Final Fantasy 15. Despite the controversy of this title and its lack of Tetsuya Nomura, Noctis is still quite an impressive character. That being said, let's hop right on into today's video. We're going to be looking at the following things to determine Noctis' strength: weapons, magic, summons, boss fights, and feats. Starting off with weapons, Noctis has an insane arsenal of weapons at his disposal. Most importantly are his royal arms, weapons once wielded by the Lucian rulers of yore, each possessing supernatural powers capable of suppressing even the deadliest of demons. The arms now lie in tombs around Eos, resting alongside their former owners. Noctis seeks out these ancient weapons wielded by his ancestors to accept his role as the chosen king to rid the world of darkness. Noctis seeks out and wields the following royal arms: the Sword of the Wise, Axe of the Conqueror, Bow of the Clever, Sword of the Wanderer, Blade of the Mystic, Star of the Rogue, Sword of the Tall, Shield of the Just, Mace of the Fierce, Scepter of the Pious, Trident of the Oracle, Katana of the Warrior, and the Sword of the Father. And I'm aware that's a lot to take in. It sounds kind of a lot like, King Arthur and Excalibur, except times 13. Another powerful weapon that Noctis has access to is the Ring of the Lucii, but we'll talk about that in the magic section. Moving on to the magic section, and Noctis has a handful of spells he has access to. Noctis has his various elemental spells that consist of the following: fire magic, ice magic, and lightning magic, and all of their variants and combinations that can make more complex spells by combining them. Like mentioned earlier in the weapons section, Noctis has the Ring of the Lucii, and this is an insane weapon magic thing that he has. The ring consists of the following spells: Alterna, Holy, and Death. Casting Alterna opens up a black hole that sucks up enemies into an alternate dimension before closing itself at the use of all of Noctis' magic. Very few enemies are immune to the Alterna cast. Moving on to Holy. Holy is a spell that triggers whenever Noctis dodges an attack, and then Holy is cast as a counterattack and inflicts damage to the enemy attacking that Noctis would have taken, giving him the ultimate defense. Last but not least, we have is Death. Death has the ability to drain the health of the enemy and slows them down alongside healing Noctis. Death is an insane spell that can one-shot enemies alongside healing Noctis back. The list of magic that Noctis has access to is not that vast, but they can deal insane damage and take out numerous enemies all at the same time. Next is summons. Noctis has the following astrals that he can summon: Titan, Ramu, Shiva, Bahamut, and Carbuncle. The summons in this game work differently than other summons in previous titles. Noctis cannot summon the astrals at will and can only be triggered by certain conditions being met. Titan will trigger in the large open plains where Noctis' party has fallen and at the end of the game. Ramu can be summoned in any area and triggers the longer Noctis has been in a fight. Leviathan triggers near water and open flatlands where Noctis is in a danger state. Shiva can trigger if any of the previous mentioned triggers were met and can appear wherever that there is sufficient room for her. Bahamut is different though. He can only be summoned in the end game as part of the main game and nowhere else. Last but not least is Carbuncle, who can only be summoned in the easy difficulty and comes to aid Noctis when he is severely damaged or knocked out, and revives him and increases his attack power. Moving on to boss fights, and like always, some boss fights are more impressive than others, and a lot of the boss fights just consist of large demons and Magitech armor. That being said, that the boss fights that Noctis does have that are impressive are really impressive. They consist of the following: he fights and defeats Titan and gains him as a summon, fights and defeats Arena and makes her flee, fights and defeats Leviathan and gains her as a summon, fights and kills Demon Ravis, fights against Ifrit and defeats him in battle, fights and defeats Ardyn, and then alongside the Kings of Yore, they all kill Ardyn inside the crystal. There are several secret and hidden bosses, but like mentioned, they are just giant demons. So, last but not least, we have feats, and Noctis is quite impressive. Like mentioned previously in the boss fights, Noctis fights against several of the astrals and defeats them in battle, being Titan, Leviathan, and Ifrit. Fights and defeats hundreds of demons and Magitech soldiers, including bosses, was strong enough to hold back Titan's punch with a sword, who is capable of catching a meteor from destroying the planet. His limit is Armiger, that channels the power of the previous kings of Lucis, summoning all of their weapons, and drastically increases his speed and strength and gives him the ability to fly. He can teleport with his warp command by throwing his weapon and landing wherever it lands. Went inside the crystal and stayed there for 10 years until he was strong enough to defeat Ardyn, can summon the kings of yore, can erect a wall barrier to protect him and others, was the chosen one by the gods, and the king of light. So how strong is Prince Noctis Lucius Calum? He is arguably the strongest character in the Final Fantasy 15 universe, being able to summon astrals including Bahamut, defeats and kills Ardyn, an immortal, and put an end to the darkness and demons that plague the world. So if you guys like this video and you want to see more amazing Final Fantasy content, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe for future content. This has been your host, Vidja Games. Bye!